I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 4, and let's focus on verses 9 and 10. Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother named him Jabez and said, "I gave birth to him in pain." And Jabez called out to the God of Israel, "If only you would bless me, extend my border, let your hand be with me, and keep me from harm, so that I would not cause any pain." And God granted his request. In the winter of 2000, I walked into a management meeting with my band, Big Tent Revival. Check us out on Spotify. Big Tent Revival. A few weeks earlier, we'd had the #1 spot on Christian radio with a song called "Choose Life." And the band and management were expecting to discuss an upcoming tour and perhaps the next radio single from the album. But that meeting took a different turn when I announced that I felt that the Lord was leading me away from the band and away from concert touring in order to focus more time on my family. Well, unexpected news is often unwelcome news. And while not everyone agreed that we should disband, eventually we all coped with the reality that the company was truly dissolving. And we set out like gentlemen to honor the Lord through the process. In the next months that followed that decision to shut down the band, Big Tent Revival performed all of our contracted concert obligations. We paid all of our t-shirt and merchandise vendors. We sold our tour bus, and along with our semi and trailer and all the sound and the lighting equipment. And then we set a target date for our last concert, New Year's Eve, 2000, Greg Laurie's church out in Riverside, California, Harvest Christian Fellowship. In the fall of 2000, about a month before our farewell concert, someone handed me a book. It's a book that had just released by Multnomah Books, authored by a gentleman named Bruce Wilkinson. And the book was called The Prayer of Jabez. It's centered around today's passage, 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. And it was, let's just say I was interested in the book because I had never heard of this guy Jabez in the Bible. Growing up in and around church, nobody ever preached about Jabez to my knowledge, and none of my hip music business friends ever talked about him. And yet here was a best-selling book about him. And then things got kind of weird, Churches all over the globe began praying the prayer of Jabez as if it was some sort of magic incantation which would stir up the Lord to do whatever they wanted him to do. Like God was a genie or something. And as you can imagine, and perhaps you experienced this firsthand, a great amount of controversy was stirred up in that book. Skeptics began refuting Bruce Wilkinson's hermeneutic and prosperity theological leanings. And so there I was, a guy who had followed the Lord and whose recent decisions had caused quite a few people a considerable amount of inconvenience and pain, as it were. And I had no plan for how I was going to earn a living either after the band played its last concert. And so I read that book and I was encouraged that God could turn everything around for the good, just as the Apostle Paul told the church in Rome. I also asked God why he included the Jabez prayer in his word. Jabez's story seemed tailor-fit for my situation, and yet the Bible did not include any directions concerning how or even if I should apply Jabez's prayer to my life. And in the end, here's what we know. Here's what we know about Mr. Jabez and how that relates to us. If we call upon the Lord, he is available and he is concerned with us. He has the power that we could never attain, and he has the wisdom to perfectly know how and when to intervene in our lives. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 13 and 14 says this, "When I shut up heaven and there is no rain, or command the locust to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. Your giving to Groundworks Ministries transforms lives. Would you consider making a donation to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your monthly support now more than ever. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. But another way that you can help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. Yeah, just word of mouth. Share these podcasts with your friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website too, groundworksministries.com.